Well, if you're new, welcome. My name is McLaughlin, and I hope today that you feel loved, wanted, and welcomed. I hope that you find a place here to belong, be discipled, and fall in love with Jesus like never before. Guys, can you believe that our worship team wrote that song? Like, how good is that? Hey, if you're new to our community, then I want for you to know that we are a Jesus church who's radically pursuing the fulfillment of the Great Commission in our day. One of our core convictions is to put discipleship back in the hands of everyday people, where more than we care about just attracting attenders, we want to equip multipliers so that you can live out the Great Commission every single day of your life. We want to really see ignited an everyday disciple-making movement through Elevate City Church. And so with that in mind, I want to start today by asking you this question, and I would love for you to shout out the answer all together once I ask it. And here's the question. Who is the greatest disciple maker in the world? You're wrong. Okay, you're wrong. I knew that you were going to say that. I think, and you can judge me, but I think that the greatest disciple maker in the world today is Google, okay? I think it's Google or YouTube or Siri. I think that ChatGPT is on the disciple-making come up. You know what I'm saying? So in the modern day and age that we live in, I believe that most people have a more impactful and formative discipling relationship with their internet search engine than they do with people. I think that we're more discipled than we are by our phones than we are by Jesus, for that matter, which can be pretty problematic because when you ask Google how to find love, one of the top answers is consider your appearance. No soft discipleship from Google, you know? Back in 2017, Google shared a list of the most searched how-to questions from around the world. Now today, the questions would just be like, how do I use AI? How do I buy crypto? Or still hanging around, how do I spell restaurant? Amen? But in 2017, a very evocative picture of all of the beauty and the bewilderment and the struggle of the human experience were captured in the top 10 how-to questions from Google. Check it out. How to tie a tie, how to kiss, how to get pregnant, how to lose weight, how to draw, how to make money, how to make pancakes, how to write a cover letter, how to make French toast, and how to lose belly fat, which isn't actually very difficult. You just avoid finding out the answer to questions 7 and 9, right? But I think that at first glance, you might look at that and think that people are just asking for Google with help to practical tasks, but don't let the specificity fool you. These aren't just questions about kisses and French toast. There are actually questions behind these questions. For instance, when you ask how to tie a tie, what you might be asking is, how do I grow up? When you ask how to kiss, what you might be asking is, how can I be vulnerable? When you ask how to get pregnant, what you might be asking is, how can I create a family? How to lose weight, might really be, am I lovable? How to draw, why do I feel hardwired to create? How to make money, can I find success? How to make pancakes, what's the recipe for happiness? How to write a cover letter, am I good enough? How to make French toast, can I be carefree for just one morning? How to lose belly fat, can I be forever young? I don't know about you, but I think how-to questions are often discipling questions in disguise. In the Great Commission in Matthew 28, 19 through 20, Jesus says, go therefore and make disciples, teaching them to obey. I don't know if you noticed or not, but a lot of times Christian content can focus on telling you what to do, but never teaching you how to do it. This series is designed to do just that, to teach you how to follow Jesus in the wild, how to follow Jesus not just in a crowded room when everybody's singing worship songs, but how to follow Jesus in the real, messy, hard, beautiful, difficult spaces and places of life. And today is how to get the marriage of your dreams in a world where everyone else is getting divorced. How to get the marriage of your dreams in a world where everyone else is getting divorced. So just reach over to your neighbor and say, buckle up. Just buckle them up real quick. All right, back to Genesis. In the Genesis narrative, Adam is like the male Snow White. Have you ever noticed this? He's surrounded by animals. He's talking to birds. Instead of 7 dwarfs, he gets 7 days of creation. And I don't know about you, but the way that I read Genesis 2 is it's like Adam is on an episode of The Bachelor Zoo Edition, okay? Adam's standing there, and God just starts sending homey animals. So, could you date a koala? Could you marry a monkey? Any interest in an aardvark? How about an aardvark? And Much to Adam's chagrin, there is no helper fit for him, which I don't think Adam's standards are too high, you know? I don't know about you, but I can't really get a vision for eloping with an elephant. And so God causes Adam to fall into a deep sleep, which I think is so cool. It's like this heavenly anesthesiology. And while Adam is sleeping, God performs the first surgery. He takes a part of Adam, his rib, and he uses it to create Eve. And when God gets done creating Eve, he brings her to Adam. And when Adam wakes up, he sees his dream girl standing before his very eyes. And we know it's his dream girl because all of a sudden, this everyday, average, ordinary dude who's made from the dirt and hanging out with animals bursts into poetry. And he says, "This is the last bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called a woman." So ladies, don't get upset with us when we give you nicknames. We come by it honestly. Because she was taken out of man. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. Adam wakes up and he sees that this is the woman of my dreams. When I see her, I see part of me. This is who I leave everything for. This is who I walk away from my family for. This is who I hold on to no matter what. This is who I become one with. And the scene ends pretty suggestively with Adam and Eve being naked and your mind left to fill in the details. Bonk, chicka, womp, womp. However, with the dream wife and in a dream garden, it only takes a chapter and a half for the dream to turn into a nightmare. You get to Genesis 3, and the rose ceremony in the garden turns into more of a courtroom where the honeymoon is over. Everyone's putting their clothes back on, pointing fingers and blaming each other and having to move out of the new house on Eden Street. We see the challenges of marriage already present in the garden. There is marital tension in Eden, meaning the challenge today is not just how to find your dream marriage, but how to keep your dream marriage. Amen? Eve was Adam's dream girl, and yet chaos still ensued. And so today, here's what I want to do. I want to preach one of the most practical sermons on marriage that I possibly can. But a couple qualifiers first. First one is this. John the Baptist wasn't married. Paul wasn't married. Newsflash, Jesus wasn't married. The goal of life is not marriage. Being single is not a disease. Our purpose is to live with undivided devotion to Jesus. Amen? For those who want to be married but are not married yet, could it be that the reason God hasn't brought the person into your life yet is because if he did, you would have undivided devotion to them and not him? The marriage of your dreams happens when you stop seeking for them to be what only God can. God's vision for our life is undivided devotion to Jesus. It's not getting married and living happily ever after. It's not riding off in a horse and buggy. At times, being single can actually be one of the greatest gifts that God gives your life. Being single is not a waiting room, it is a gift. And oftentimes it's a gift that can make you more effective for the kingdom, as Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 7. And so I realize today that this might not be for everyone, that some of you are single and you long to be married. Some of you are single for the rest of your life for the sake of mission. You're gonna come into so many different places of this message today, and I get that. However, most people long to be married, and marriage has the capacity to be one of the greatest sources of joy and pain in your life. And so I want to give one of the most practical disciple-making marital sermons that I can. I don't want for today to feel like, as much as I'm preaching a sermon about something in theory, as it will feel like we're having a discipling conversation. As if we were hanging out together and I was really trying to give you the nitty-gritty of how to make marriage work. And so the title for my message today is Joey McLaughlin's Top 10 Tips for How to Have the Marriage of Your Dreams. My top 10 tips for how to have the marriage of your dreams. And if you're at all wondering whether or not I know what I'm doing, just look over there and you'll see a very satisfied woman, okay? So I'm serious, check it out, she's real happy. So at the end of today's message, I am going to give you an absolute cheat code for the marriage of your dreams. I've never shared until the 9 o'clock hour, never shared today what I share at the end of this sermon. And I promise you it's not a Jesus juke. The only reason that I've never shared this in a sermon before is because I planned to put it in a book and make millions of dollars. But I'm gonna give it to you today, and I really believe that it is one of the greatest cheat codes that you could ever implement into your marriage. So, all right, let's get started. The top 10 tips for how to have the marriage of your dreams. We're gonna actually start with 0. We're gonna go 0 before 1. And to do it, we're gonna start with a quote from the great theologian, Will Ferrell. Before you get married, you should make someone use a computer with slow internet to show you who they really are. That's good right there. Really, the truth about having the marriage of your dreams starts before you ever get married. It starts with who you choose to marry. In all honesty, point zero is this: you need to marry someone who crazy loves Jesus. You need to marry someone who crazy loves Jesus. Listen to me, missionary dating is dumb. Really, really dumb. If you do it, you are really dumb. You are so dumb, okay? Missionary dating is where you start to be in a relationship with someone thinking that I can convince them to like Jesus or love Jesus through their relationship with me. And what is inevitably going to end up happening is they're not going to fall in love with Jesus. That's wrong. They're going to end up with a distorted vision of Jesus that's intermingled with their relationship with you. I've seen it happen so many times before. Dating is actually pretty foreign to the writers of the Bible. They lived in a culture that predominantly arranged marriages, so there isn't a lot of content about who you should or shouldn't pick as your spouse. But the one thing that is explicitly clear in Scripture, like don't eat from the tree of the middle of the garden clear in Scripture, is don't be yoked together with unbelievers. 2 Corinthians 6:14, don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership is righteous with lawlessness, or what fellowship is light with darkness, or what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? Like, I'm telling you, the person that you end up marrying, they need to be crazy in love with Jesus. I love the way Tim Keller says this: be attracted, yeah, but be attracted to something that is going to get stronger in that person, not weaker. Looks, man, they're going to come and go, but your discipleship and love to Jesus should be on the up. This is so foundational, and you cannot miss it. I want for you to know that when you look at someone, there should be this desire in you to want to know the Jesus that they know. You should go, they seem so in love with Jesus that it makes me want to know more of Jesus. There should be something in the way that they walk with him and talk with him and follow him and seek him that make you want to run harder after Jesus. And you should look at them and go, I want what they and Jesus have. I want to be loud and clear this morning. Marriage is hard. It is unbelievably hard. And some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today that are so necessary to produce the marriage of your dreams are going to sound impossible to some of you. And let me tell you, they are. They are. They're going to be impossible without the strength that Jesus provides. Me, by myself, in my wiring, with my personality, which is a lot, very few of the things that I talk to you about today would be possible in my marriage to Kayla without the strength that Jesus provides. I'm not trying to be cliche or trite. I want for you to know that without really knowing and loving and following hard after Jesus, I would not be able to love Kayla the way that I do. And your spouse won't be able to either. You must get this right. Now, if you are already married to an unbeliever, the Bible is clear on that. You stay in that marriage committed to winning them towards Jesus through your manner of life, and you pray like crazy. It happens, and I want for you to know we've seen it happen in our very midst. But you will make your marriage 100 times harder. Ladies, look right at me. 100 times harder if you end up marrying somebody who doesn't love Jesus. And ladies, you know. You know if he is here just to check the box. You know if he's just going through the motions. You know if you're just dragging him along. And if you're dragging him along now, then you will be dragging him along for the rest of your marital life. You find someone who loves Jesus and loves Jesus for real and isn't just tricking you into it. And I know some of you guys are like raging on the inside. Catch me out in the parking lot. How about that? Okay, like I am so serious about this today. Like, you want somebody who desperately and deeply loves Jesus to be the primary thing that you're attracted to in them. All right, point number one. Let me say one. The first tip for the marriage of your dreams is to wake up. Wake up. If you want to have the marriage of your dreams, you got to wake up, people. You got to wake up. The problem that happened with Adam and Eve in Eden is Adam fell asleep at the wheel. Adam abdicated his responsibility to lead. Men, you're supposed to lead. And he let lies from the outside get into his wife's mind, and he passively stood by while she let talking snakes suggest lunch plans, which inevitably wrecked not just their marriage, but the entire world. Which, by the way, I think many of the problems in the world today are a result of problems in marriages. Broken homes lead to a broken world. And I think it happens because way too many people fall asleep at the marital wheel. Do you know what Paul says right before all of the marriage content from Ephesians 5? Right before he drops what we all know about marriage from Ephesians 5. Do you know what Paul says? He says this in verse 15. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. If you want to have the marriage of your dreams, you have to stop living in la la land. You have to stop sleepwalking through life. Many of the problems in your marriage are just because you're not awake and alert to your marriage being a priority. I'm gonna say that again. Many of the problems in your marriage are just because you're not awake and alert to your marriage being a priority. Just ask yourself, what in my schedule or in my actions or with my words or on my calendar shows that my marriage is actually a priority? Listen to me today. Your employer can and will replace you in 2 seconds. They can find another project manager or another engineer or another teacher or a sales VP. You know what's not so easy to replace? Your kids replacing their dad and your wife replacing her husband. Wake up to the fact that this is the most important relationship that you will ever have. I want for you to know every other job, it will come and go. Hopefully, pray into Jesus, your kids will grow up and move out. But that relationship with your spouse, you are going to be with them. Fellas, I want for you to know that going to work and putting food on the table doesn't make you a good husband, it makes you a good provider. And that is just a part of what it means to be a godly husband. Early on, Kayla and I hit a bit of a rough patch in our marriage, and I really couldn't figure out why. I was trying to diagnose it, but a mentor of mine diagnosed it very quickly, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, Joey, if you put just literally half the amount of work and creativity into your marriage as you did your ministry, your marriage would be just fine. He said, imagine pouring all of the creativity and research and humor and charisma that you pour into your sermon into just one date. And I said, uh-oh. Can I tell you why marriages suffer? Your spouse gets the leftovers. You give your best to your career or your kids. I'm talking to you too, ladies. And you leave your spouse with leftover 3-day pizza and then wonder where the magic is. Obviously, as a pastor, I do funerals, and I sit with people at the end of their life. And early on in ministry, there was this funeral at the church that I was working at, and I wasn't doing the funeral, but I was partnered up where I was walking with the guy that day who had lost his wife, and they'd been married for 55 years, and so I was just, chatting with him, talking to him stories, asking him questions, and I asked him, what marriage advice would he give me? And he said, get a widow's heart while your spouse is still alive. I've never forgotten it. Get a widow's heart while your spouse is still alive. It was just seared in the back of my mind, and I try to never take a second with Kayla for granted, and I'm not perfect, but I want to practice having a widow's heart while my spouse is still alive. Some of you just need to wake up to the fact that this is the relationship that matters most, and everything else needs to be second. All right, point number 2, have a no matter what mindset. Have a no matter what mindset. Matthew 19:9. Says, I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. What Jesus is doing here is he's giving one of the 4 biblical reasons that would actually be grounds for divorce. I don't have time to get into all of that today. I've preached another sermon on that before. You can go find it online. However, what Jesus is articulating is that in his vision of marriage, that people have a no matter what mindset, that our bias is to stay together, that our bias is to work it out, that our bias is to fight, that we don't just let our longings or our feelings or our emotions lead to whether or not we stay in a committed marriage relationship. Our generation went from till death do us part to till I get bored. You will never have the marriage of your dreams while you continue to daydream about someone else or something else. You have to stop fantasizing and start focusing. Stop comparing your marriage to some Photoshopped version of marriage on a TV show and start cultivating the marriage that you actually have in real life. You've got to get a no matter what mindset so that you work on the marriage that you have. When Kayla and I get in a disagreement or an argument, the Greek word for it is a fight. I think to myself, unless this woman dies, she is the only wife that I'm ever going to have. Like, this is great news for me, okay? I am like so trapped, like extra trapped, like ultra trapped in the best way imaginable, okay? And this is really good. This is so good because what it does is it produces in me, okay, so this is the only wife that this is who I'm gonna be going on walks with and changing sheets with and picking weeds with and going on trips with and watching shows with and doing the chores with and painting bedrooms with. And if all goes according to plans, she's gonna change my diaper someday, right? Like that's the trajectory that we're on. And so because of that, I'm like, how do I want her to treat me when she's changing my diaper? You know, like I'm focused on investing now for that like later in life outcome. And if you've got this door cracked, just hear me say this. If the door is even cracked in your mind, you won't give all you have to build the marriage of your dreams. The marriage of your dreams requires a level of commitment and security that is brought about by the total certainty that neither person is walking away no matter what. Security is the foundation for intimacy. And you wanna know, fellas, listen to me, you wanna know why you lack the intimacy that you long for? It's because she doesn't have the security that she needs. Don't joke about divorce. Don't threaten it, don't entertain it. When this is your mindset, this, I'm not going anywhere. I've got a no matter what mindset. You start to ask like, do I wanna keep having this conversation the next 40 years or do I wanna talk about it honestly this time? Do I want bitterness to continue to grow in my heart for that long? Do I want to remain this misunderstood? Do I want to have a boring sex life for my whole life? Do I want to resent the person that I got to sleep next to? No, you start to go, okay, I've got a no matter what mindset, and so I'm going to put in the work to have the marriage that I long for because this is the only marriage that I'm going to get. So I'm going, okay, what do I want at the end of the day? Do I want to go to bed angry at each other, flip over on the other side and just be resentful and pouty? No, I want us to be close and intimate. I want our marriage to be life-giving. I refuse to have a lifeless marriage. I refuse to have a sexless marriage. I refuse to have a boring marriage. I refuse to have an apathetic marriage because this is the only marriage that I'm going to get. And so I'm going to make this the best possible one. You've got to have a no matter what mindset. All right, point number 3. You got to get a bigger vision for marriage. You've got to get a bigger vision for marriage. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And where there is no vision for your marriage will go to die. If you sit down with Kayla and I for premarital counseling, it's one of our favorite things to do in the world. We spend a lot of time counseling young couples, preparing them for marriage. And so much of the hard work can be done before marriage. It's way easier to do the work before than it is after. And so when you sit down at our kitchen table, we've got this wooden kitchen table that Kayla and her dad made, and we sit across from couples. I can't even tell you how many hundreds of couples, at this point we've probably sat across from and had, marital conversations. And the first thing that I do on night one, on session 1, is they're sitting across from us. And, we had dinner, we made dinner together, and I roll this out. I say, okay, so I just want to kind of set the vision for tonight. My goal tonight is to try to talk the two of you out of getting married. Yeah, they look at me about like that. They're wildly confused. And I say, because if I can talk you out of it tonight when you're in the honeymoon phase and you're googly-eyed and you're engaged and you're so in love, then someday you'll talk yourself out of it too. And so then I ask them this question. I say, so why marriage? Why marriage? Why get married? And they look at me like a deer caught in headlights. Most people have no idea how to answer the question. And then they start to fumble through, I guess it was just time. It felt like the right thing to do. It feels like the next logical step. We're in love. We want to have kids. It makes financial sense. We want to buy a house. And I usually say you don't have to be married for any of that. None of those things actually necessitate marriage. So let's try again. Why marriage? I don't think any of those are good reasons to get married. Let me tell you today, a small vision for marriage leads to a small marriage. You feel like your marriage is small and less than because you got married without a vision for what marriage was really supposed to be, my friend. And your spouse ends up feeling like a business partner. And your marriage feels like you got a live-in roommate or a co-parent or a live-in handyman because you got married with a small view of what marriage is and is designed to do. So what's your view of marriage? I want for you to know, if you're getting married to be happy, please don't. Please don't. Like, I want to be happy, and I think this person will be, I think this person will really make me happy. They'll make you something, that's for sure. I want for you to know, happiness cannot be your primary goal in marriage because there are way too many outside circumstances that might not allow your life to be happy. I want you to know if your kids get cancer, you ain't gonna be happy. I want you to know when you lose your job, not gonna be happy. When you get laid off, not happy. When your parents get some weird diagnosis and die early in life, not happy. You don't actually hold all the cards to determine whether or not you can be happy. And so if you put the weight of happiness on your marriage, it will massively disappoint you, my friend. So how about you shoot at something bigger, at something higher than happiness? I love the way that Ephesians talks about it. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes it and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound. I'm saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself. Let the wife see that she respects her husband. Let me give you a bigger vision for marriage. Marriage is not meant to make you happy. Marriage is not meant to just, the next logical step or what you do when you're in love. Marriage is not meant to complete you. Marriage is meant to empty you. Marriage is not meant to fulfill you. Marriage is meant to form you. Marriage is not meant to meet all your needs, but to make you a servant. I want for you to know that today the rise of hyper-individualism has made it harder to stay married than ever before, because it exponentially intensifies the everlasting struggle to get over yourself. Do you know one of the things that you really need for your marriage is you need to get over yourself. So I want for you to just turn to your neighbor and say, my pastor told me to tell you that you need to get over yourself. Didn't that feel so good to say out loud? Guys, listen, this modern combination of self-liberation and relentless therapeutic introspection and ever-increasing emotional expectations creates an unhealthy combination of self that is really good at disguising narcissism as self-care and self-care as liberation. But Joey, if I get over myself, won't I end up losing myself? Yeah, that's kind of the point. Remember Jesus, who said, he who tries to hold on to his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake will surely find it. You have to get over yourself. The secret of the marriage that you need is on the other side of dying to the marriage that you think that you want. Do you know some of the worst relationship advice that you will ever hear, that I've ever heard? Don't let them change you. You ever heard somebody say that before? Don't let them change. Girlfriend, don't you change for anybody. You are a queen, girlfriend, okay? You heard somebody say that before, right? I want for you to know, don't be friends with that person anymore. You're gonna need to change, okay? About the only thing that you can do to get different results in your relationship is change. We say things like, well, if they would, then I would. If they changed, then I'd change. That's a terrible mindset, y'all. You can't change your spouse. You can't make your spouse do anything. The only thing you can change is you. It's you. I want you to know, when there is something about Kayla that's frustrating me, which has only happened like one time in our marriage, ever, just once, okay? But that one time that it happened, the first question that I asked myself in that one occurrence that it occurred was, what needs to change in me? Like I'm trying to give you a good operating system for how to handle frustration in marriage. When you see your spouse doing something that is driving you crazy, as opposed to trying to change them or wishing that they would change, you go, oh, maybe I need to change. Like, how could I change how I'm looking at that? How could I change how I respond to that? How could I change whatever I did that triggered that? Like, I am the one who needs to change. If you will operate with this mindset that most of the time the person in your marriage who needs to change the most is you, if you would see that marriage is not about you being served by your spouse so that all your dreams come true, it's about sacrificing for your spouse so that their dreams come true. If you want the dream marriage, let me give you a little piece of advice. Become the dream maker, my friends. Like, my goal is that Kayla would live a life where all of her dreams come true. And I'm telling you, there's just something wild that happens when you really position yourself to try to serve and to try to love and to try to create and to try to see your spouse flourish, that somehow your needs just kind of have a way of getting themselves taken care of. But when you try to hold on and get everything that you want, self ends up sabotaging itself and wrecking the relationship. Husbands, I want for you to wake up with this thought tomorrow. She will not outlove me today. She will not outlove me today. She will not outserve me today. She will not outcompliment me today. She will not outcare for me today. She will not outlove me today. Your marriage isn't working because you're getting outworked. You're getting outworked by friends and career and social and kids. And I want for you to be the type of man you want your daughter to marry and your son to become. Say that, I will not be outloved today. Paul talks about the way that our marriage is a picture of the gospel, of Jesus dying for his bride. So listen to me. Whether by poison and dagger like Romeo and Juliet, or by a cross like Jesus Christ, or by sitting in the carpool line like Joey McLaughlin, I want for you to determine that today is a great day to die. Today is a great day to die. Like, literally, just wake up. Oh, today's a great day to die for my spouse like Jesus died for me. When you feel marriage emptying you and forcing you to get to the end of yourself, realize it's then that marriage is actually doing its job. You want a big vision of marriage? Marriage outside of the Bible will be the thing that sanctifies you the most, the thing that makes you the most like Jesus, the thing that empties you of all of your broken, fractured ways of seeing the world, all of your selfishness, all of your self-preservation, all of your broken mindsets from childhood. It will empty you of you to form you into who Jesus wants you to be. That's the vision of marriage. It is a sanctifying tool to get you out of you and to get Christ into you. I want for you to know that broken marriages are 50-50, whole marriages are 100-100. If anybody tells you that marriage is give and a take, they're wrong. Marriage is give and give and give some more. Gotta have a bigger vision of marriage. It's about emptying you so that you can become who God's really created you to be. All right, point number 4. Learn a new language. Learn a new language, and I'm not talking about Espanol. I am talking about wife, okay? I'm teaching you to speak wife. The most significant relational ingredient in any relationship, it doesn't matter if you're single and you're looking to mingle, if you're dating and considering mating, or if you're married and about to be buried, okay? The most significant ingredient in any relationship is communication. Let me hear you say it. Was that like a 90% female response? Okay, it's like the ladies were like, I'm glad we came to church today. In one survey, 400 psychiatrists were asked the biggest challenge in most marriages. The most common answer, communication. Proverbs 18:21-22, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. All right, everybody look at me. You are not as good of a communicator as you think that you are. You are not. And I get paid to do this for a living, okay? I am not as good of a communicator as I think that I am. You're not as clear as you think that you are. You're definitely not as interesting as you think that you are. You're not as good of a question asker as you think that you are. You're not as good of a communicator as you think that you are. And most of the problems in your relationship are communication problems. Let me prove to you that you're not as good of a communication expert as you think that you are. I'm going to give you a tool, and it's a tool that we use in all of our premarital sessions with couples that we counsel. And I want for you to use this tool in your relationship tonight. So here it is. It's a communication diagnostic test. I encourage you to pull out your phones and take a picture. And there are 12 questions. And this is what I want for you to do, is I want for you to sit with your partner later, and I want for you to work through these questions. How clear is your partner? How well does your partner follow through on what they say? say? How honest is your partner? How well does your partner listen? How good is your partner at asking intentional questions? How encouraging and kind is your partner with their words? How well do they express their emotions, specifically hurt, frustration, or gratitude? How well do they talk about you in public? How well do they handle group conversations? How well do they text? How much do they interrupt? How do they use their words in emotionally charged situations? So I want for you to sit down with these questions, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna rate your partner on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being is they're crushing it. 1 being like they're dumb, okay? And you're going to see how good of a community, and then you're gonna say, why you gave them that response, and you're gonna dialogue about it. And I'm gonna be praying for your marriages all night long tonight, okay? And what you're gonna find out is that you're not nearly as good of a communicator as you think that you are. I want for you to know that most of the problems in marriage are communication problems. Money problems, communication problems. Sex problems, communication problems. Got some guys ready to do the diagnostic tonight. All of the problems come down to communication. I can tell you, at this point, even to this day in our marriage, we get in most of our fights not just over what I say, but how I say it. It's my tone, man. It's the way that I come across. It's my sarcasm. It's my quick wit. It's my passive aggressiveness, and it gets you in trouble. So I'm just trying to give you as much as I can today, okay? This is like masterclass. So bad communication, good communication. Check this out. Bad communication is dismiss, critique, and avoid. Good communication is validate, comfort, and repair. A lot of bad communicators, what they do, dismiss, that's not a big deal. She didn't really mean that. That's dumb. And then, critique it. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? This is a dumb perspective. And then avoid, we're just not going to talk about it. But good communication validates, comforts, and repairs. I validate, I give value and worth and understanding to what they said. I comfort, I try to be in it with them, and then repair. I try to help them solve the problem. And guys, I want for you to know that the order of that is very, very important. You've got to validate and comfort before you repair. It was so helpful for me when I learned this little tool. When Kayla and I get in a conversation, I'll ask her now, I'll go, okay, baby girl, is this a listening conversation or a fixing conversation, okay? Because what does every guy want to do? We want to fix the problem, right? We want to make it go away. And I'm so antsy to come up with all of the solutions to the problem. But she'll go, this is a listening conversation. And I'll go, well, that girl's poison then, okay? She's the absolute worst. I hate her. Let's kill her. Her hair is definitely fake, okay? Her makeup is bad. Her legs are awkward. They look like a chicken. And nobody likes her, right? I'm on her side all of a sudden. I can listen, I can validate, I can be in it with her. So you validate, then you comfort, and then you're like, all right, and I got some ideas about maybe how you guys could be friends again. Are you interested in learning? But bad communicators, what they do is they dismiss, they critique, they avoid. Good communicators, what they do is they validate, they comfort, they repair. There is a better than not chance that one of you talk way too much and the other person doesn't talk enough. Ladies, you want him to use more words? Use less. Like your words might be wearing him out. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. A lot of men, I'm gonna say most men, do not have a vocabulary to describe how they feel. When you ask them, how do you feel? And they say, I don't know. It's not that they don't feel anything. They just literally don't know how to tell you what they feel. Like they don't have the words for it. And then here's another one. Like most guys are way more neutral than you have any ability to understand. Like girls are just very passionate about everything. Guys like usually, it's fine. It's fine, it's okay, it's fine. And like really it is, it's fine. And you're like, no, like it's gotta be, no, it's legitimately just fine. It's just okay. And like I know this one, like man, girls are just so shocked by this, like because for some reason, like being a pastor, it validates it for girls when they hear me say it sometimes. Like when I tell you sometimes as guys, we're legitimately thinking about nothing, I mean, we're thinking about nothing. Like, you're like, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, the last 11 seconds, I'm not even sure if I was still alive, okay? Like, nothing is going on in there. And like, if I was thinking about anything, it's like the Roman Empire, or I was thinking about like doing married things in that pool over there, okay? Like that's what I was thinking about. And so when I tell you nothing, I mean nothing. So just realize that. Wives, listen to me. Give him out loud compliments. Encouragement out of the mouth of a wife is confidence in the heart of a man. You want to see him like walk with good, godly confidence. You want to see him fulfill his potential. Encouragement out of the mouth of a wife is confidence in the heart of a man. Man, you know, I have a public job, so I'm in a public scenario. So people can say also, I don't like the way that guy talks. I don't like his illustration. That was off color. That joke didn't make sense, whatever. So you get these angry emails sometimes, right? And you get a lot of people who give you feedback on your sermons. And I just want you to know, I don't care. I really don't care what you think. But do you know who I do care? I care what my wife thinks. Like, I could get 100 angry emails and she'd be like, you slay it. And I'm like, yeah, I did. You know, like there's something about encouragement out of the mouth of your wife that produces confidence in the heart of a man. And so ladies, out loud compliments, look him in his eyes, compliment him specifically, kiss him on his lips, and slap him on his butt, okay? It will go good for you. All right, 3 quotes I love on communication. Love calls you to be silent when you want to speak and to speak when you would like to be silent. Someone needs that today. Love calls you to be silent when you want to speak and to speak when you would like to be silent. Fellas, those moments when you're like, I don't want to, no, it's time to speak. That's what love demands. You can measure the happiness of marriage by the number of scars on their tongues earned from years of biting back angry words. So good. The words we speak become the stories our spouse tells themselves. The words we speak become the stories our spouse tell themselves. All right, point number 5, embrace the evolution. Embrace the evolution. Men marry women hoping they won't change. She's gonna be like this forever. She's always gonna wanna hang out and do fun stuff forever. Women marry men hoping they will change. And both inevitably end up disappointed. You need to know that part of marriage is embracing the evolution. You're gonna change over time. There will be seasons. Tim Keller, in his book, The Meaning of Marriage, says, the Christian vision of marriage, here's what it means to fall in love. It is to look at another person and get a glimpse of what God is creating and to say, I see who God is making you and it excites me. I want to be a part of that. I want to partner with you and God in the journey you are taking to his throne. And when we get there, I will look at your magnificence and say, I always knew you could be like this. I got glimpses of it on earth, but now look at you. When I officiate weddings, I say to the young couple, you're not just saying yes to the person standing in front of you today, but to everything they will become along the journey of life. And I promise you they will become someone wildly different than who stands before you on your wedding day. Pain will change them. Parenting will change them. Disappointment will change them. Then gravity will change them, okay? You'll hear couples on the brink of divorce saying, you're just not the person I married, and you're right, and neither are you. Don't be surprised by that. The bigger problem is that they've been changing since day one, and you weren't present enough to notice. A book I really love on marriage, it's one that I can't recommend because it's pretty racy, and it's honestly too vulgar and graphic, and I disagree with a lot of the author's theology, but I love the book. And the book starts like this. It's quite the story. Here's how it begins. What happened was my wife, for a billion years, the mother of our 3 daughters, a woman who spent just about every Sunday of her life in church, snuck off and found herself a boyfriend. Not cool. Her boyfriend, I mean. He has a decorative seashell collection and can't even grow a beard. I'm not making this stuff up. It's a great book, people. Here's some insightful quotes that he has about the evolution of marriage. One from his wife. I loved being a stay-at-home mom, but no one prepares you for how lonely it is. You're gonna have to embrace the evolution. You might work so hard for your wife to be a stay-at-home mom only to find that, yeah, she loves it, but she's extremely lonely and doesn't know how to make sense of it and doesn't know how to tell you. Compatibility is an accomplishment of marriage, not a prerequisite. Marriage, in the end, is 2 of you being you, warring against the worst parts of you, making space for the best to grow, and learning to see that some parts of your spouse are not your favorite and letting those parts be anyway. Hating those parts is no ground for divorce. The only thing worth divorcing in most cases is the hatred itself and your inborn desire to shape the world to your will like some kind of mad Marvel villain. One of the greatest misconceptions, the one you must jettison as soon as it is convenient to you, is that you're easy to live with. You're not. You're a monster. You pay pros to clean your teeth and replace your brake shoes. Why won't you pay someone to give your marriage a little mileage too? The prophets of this present age want us to believe that marriage should exist solely for the benefit of the people in it. But what if the prophets are wrong? What if marriage, at its very best, exists to remake us into beautiful new creatures we scarcely recognize? What if, in some cosmically weird way, escaping a hard marriage is not how you change? What if staying married is? Embrace the evolution. All right, point number 6, we got to hurry up. The foundation is friendship. The foundation is friendship. I was asked what I love most about Kayla from one of my close friends, and for me, it's how easy she is to be around. I feel this incessant need to be on for everyone all of the time, but I can just be with her. This is one of the greatest gifts of my life. She laughs at my very average jokes. She will try to be into the things that I am into. She will pretend to care about the 19th Steph Curry three-pointer that I want to replay for her. But babe, watch. But babe, watch. Hey, no, look, do you see where he's shooting it from? You know, she's like into it as much as she can be. These are what are called bids for connection. Ladies, you need to write this down. Bids for connection. You see, you think that he's just trying to tell you about basketball, or he's like, hey, come check out this thing in my garage. This is a transmission. And you're like, I don't care about the transmission. And what you need to know is he's not trying to talk to you about transmissions. He's asking, do you want to be my friend? Yeah, we're really sad when you don't want to watch the replay. And if you all, it just changed for you forever, okay? When it's like, hey, look, there's this thing in look at this tool. I got this tool, and look at this tool can do this thing. I don't care about your tool. He's asking, do you want to be my friend? And friendship is the foundation of any great marriage. One of the questions that we got asked this week is, so Kayla and I have been together for 17 years, and like, what keeps our marriage strong and intimate today? And listen, I'm just gonna get so practical with you guys. Most nights, like I'm gonna say like 4+ nights of the week, after Kayla and I put the kids down for bed, we make tea or wine or a cocktail or some weird health drink if we're like trying to get in shape, and we play a board game together. Like, this is a foundational part of our marriage, that we sit together, we do something fun together, and we connect. And this is such a foundational part of our marriage that I've prepared for you the Joey McLaughlin board game starter pack, okay? I want for you to pull out your phone. This is gonna save some marriages, okay? I want for you to pull out your phone. I want for you to take a picture of these board games. Okay, there is a version of this list that comes with a cocktail that's paired with the board game, okay? Perfect cocktail pairing. But I want for you to like buy some of these. And as opposed to just flipping on a television show and disconnecting from reality, like play a game together and be real humans for 2 seconds, okay? Talk to one another. And honestly, this being at the core of our marriage, of us pushing distractions aside, get the kids down, get into a space, look each other in the eye, and have real conversation about things that matter. All of these are 2-player games. They're amazing. You'll thank me later. All right, number 7. Sex is the state of the union. Sex is the state of the union. No one gets married hoping to have a miserable sex life. If you want to wonder how things are going in your marriage, you generally don't have to look much further than the bedroom. Well, Joey, I don't care about sex. It doesn't really matter for me. Like, it's not a point of good or bad. Like, it's actually better for me if we don't have sex. And exactly. Sex is the state of the union in your marriage, and you are selfish. And you think marriage is about you, and not about the two of you. If the relationship is good, the sex will be good. And when the relationship is bad, the first thing that goes is sex. But sex is not just going to give you a state of the union. Sex is also going to contribute to the state of the union. Oftentimes, we have been able to diagnose that if all of a sudden I'm shorter with Kayla than I should be, or she doesn't have as much grace for an area that she normally would, or we're not championing each other, or we're arguing more, you can trace it back to this incredible wedding gift that God gave marriages that isn't being taken out of the package. that isn't being used the way that it should. Ladies, I want for you to know that for most guys, like you need to hear this, like it is a paradigm shifting moment. How you feel that you need words of affirmation is how he feels with his need for sex. Imagine never hearing that you're beautiful, never hearing I love you, never being provided for. Whatever makes you feel most loved, that's likely how he feels about sex. And so you need to know that. That is the state of the union. Like if you want to know whether or not things are good, look at the bedroom. And then fellas, I want for you to know that the most sensual organ of your wife's body is her brain. It's her brain. One of the best sex tips that I was ever given is that sex does not start at night when you go to bed. It starts in the morning when you wake up. It starts with how you talk and interact and compliment and woo and flirt and serve throughout the day. And so don't neglect what will inevitably be the state of the union. All right, number 8, see marriage as mission. See marriage as mission. Our marriages are supposed to image the gospel to the rest of the world. People are supposed to see the radical love of Jesus for the church through how we love our spouses. It's supposed to serve as a sign of unbelievers. When we see our marriage as mission, it not only becomes a sign to unbelievers, though, it also strengthens us. One of the absolute best things that we have done in our marriage is counsel other marriages. Telling you this is a secret weapon, 10 out of 10 recommend. Even if you don't think that you could do it, even if you think that you've got nothing to offer to it, get into a position. The Bible's all about old men teaching younger men, older women teaching younger women. And so find somebody who's younger relationally than you and just start to invest, because what will happen is you will be sitting across from this couple talking about the things that make a good marriage, realizing you got some blind spots in yours. And you'll be, selling all of this marriage advice going, oh yeah, we should probably do some of this. It's great to talk about, but we need to actually put it in practice. And when you're in a position where you see marriage as a mission, where you're not just using marriage for yourself, but your marriage is a blessing to other people, it'll work to sanctify and grow your marriage too. Ladies, your marriage is the gospel you're preaching to your kids. Do you know that? I've been in ministry for 17 years, and in Christian marriages, I've seen that there's an interesting relationship between how a wife talks to, respects, and prioritizes her husband, and how that woman's children view the church. Can't even altogether explain it to you, but I can see when a woman doesn't respect and doesn't prioritize and he's an afterthought, for some reason, those women's children end up with a disinterested view in church. The gospel that you're preaching to your kids is your marriage. You should view your marriage as a mission to your spouse. I'm trying my best to display God's love to Kayla. I'm trying to let Kayla see how much God loves her through me. I'm trying to show her and introduce her into the God that I know. And let me just give you some secret sauce, okay? A weapon that I want in your arsenal, a tool in your toolkit, is when I can't do something for Kayla in our marriage, I do it for Jesus instead. When I can't find a reason to forgive or to listen or to serve or to pursue or to cherish, when I have a lack of desire in my heart to do it for Kayla, I do it for Jesus instead, for his name, for his glory, for his renown, because my marriage is a mission. Amen? All right, who's ready for the cheat code? Who's ready for the cheat code? All right, fine, I'll say it, but I won't give it to you. Who's ready for the cheat code, people? All right, point number 9, get a sixth sense. Get a sixth sense. Fellas, have you ever felt like, I can't read this woman's mind? You ever felt like that before? Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to read her mind. I don't even know what to talk to her about. I don't know how to read her mind. I, today, am going to give you a sixth sense. Like I said before, never shared in a sermon before, because I want to save it, turn it into a book to make $1 million, but I love you too much to keep it to myself. So I am going to give you 6 questions that I believe can act as a sixth sense. These 6 questions that in the beginning of my marriage to Kayla, we would spend Sunday nights and we'd have a state of the marriage address, and I would ask her these 6 questions. And I would bet my reputation that if you will ask your spouse these 6 questions every single week, and you would do all that you can to try to to try to respond to the 6 questions, that you will have a radically different marriage 6 months from now. Radically different. Your wife will feel more loved by you than she's probably ever felt if you will commit to asking these 6 questions every single week. Does anybody want to know the 6 questions? All right, okay, so question number 1 is this, is how's your soul? How's your soul? Create some special designated time where you can just ask her, how's your soul? And it's an open-ended question to talk to you about what's going on the inside. You're like, I don't even know what to ask. Like, you just ask, how's your soul? She'll know what to say. I promise you, okay? So how's your soul? How's that interior part of your world that is beyond just, going to the grocery store and picking up kids and going to the gym? How's your soul? Question number 2. What's one thing I can do to love you better this week? What's one thing I can do to love you better this week? Ladies, I want for you to circle the word one. What's one thing I can do to love you better this week? I'm not looking for a shopping list, okay? I'm looking for one thing. This is a very action-oriented thing. This is me saying to you, I want to put love in action. I don't want to just love you with my words. I want to love you with my actions. So give me a very tangible, actionable thing that I can do this week that will make you feel more loved than you did last week. What's one thing I can do to love you better this week? Question number 3. Is there anything that I've been doing that needs to change? Is there anything that I've been doing that needs to change? This is an incredible, humble posture for a man to embrace feedback. It is so hard for men to be able to hear feedback, to hear criticism. Ladies, you should really try to limit your criticism, and you should let him open himself up to go, hey, is there anything that I've been doing that needs to change? Because now all of a sudden I can actually receive it, and I can hear it, and I can put myself in a posture to listen and to actually make actionable changes. And so you want her to stop critiquing and nagging so much, maybe just start to ask, hey, is there anything that I've been doing that needs to change? Question number 4, what are you dreaming about? What are you dreaming about? Your wife is going to have dreams when you date and before you get married, and then when you get married, and then you're going to buy a house, and then there's going to be different dreams, and then you're going to have kids, and there's going to be different dreams, and then kids are going to get older, and there's going to be different dreams. Your wife is going to be dreaming these dreams that are going to change, and if you don't ask about them, you're not going to know them. So what are you dreaming about? Question number 5, how's money and sex going for you? How's money and sex going for you? Those 2 things that cause the most fights in most relationships, how are they going for you? Is it life-giving? Is it intimate? Is it pleasureful? Is there enough money in the bank? Are we spending it in the right way? Is it consistent enough? How is money and sex going for you? And then finally, question number 6, how can I pray for you? How can I pray for you? And then you do it right there on the spot. You pray for your spouse. I'm telling you that if you will weekly ask your spouse these 6 questions and do what you can to take actionable change, you will have a marriage that will blow your mind 6 months from now. Now, here's what I want every girl to close their eyes real quick. Okay, ladies, I need you to close your eyes. All right, guys, I got some special sauce just for you. I'm not gonna let the ladies in on this. You're gonna ask her these 6 questions, and after every single one of the questions that she answers, you're gonna say these 3 words, okay? I see some ladies with their eyes open right now, and I want for you to know Jesus knows, okay? All right, take it off the screen, Guys, that's just between you and me. You're gonna watch, she's gonna give you, and you're gonna say those 3 words, and you're not ready for what's gonna happen next, okay? There's gonna be tears, and she's gonna make out with you. It's gonna be unreal when she answers the question, and then you say those 3 words, which she's not gonna know, but now you know. All right, and finally, number 10, for how to have the marriage of your dreams, forgive 490 times a day. Forgive 490 times a day. Peter came to Jesus and he asked Jesus how many times he's supposed to forgive, and he said 7 times 70. That's 490 times. Marriage is a dance between 2 great forgivers. A perfect marriage is just 2 imperfect people who refuse to give up on each other. One of the radical commitments that Kayla and I have is to keep the shortest accounts possible between the 2 of us. In the Bible, it says to not let the sun go down on your anger, which I think is more of a principle than a prescription. But here's how it works, is if Kayla's done something to offend me or I've done something to offend her, we have 48 hours to talk to each other and pursue reconciliation, or we let it go. We let it go. 48 hours. A lot of times it's that day. And we'll work to the point where we're no longer angry. We might not be resolved, but we're no longer angry. And we can, you want to know how you know if you're no longer angry? When you get in bed, do you flip over to the side and give, your partner their back? That's how you know you're still angry. But if you can get in bed and you can hold hands and you can look each other in the eyes and you can pray for one another, then okay, we might not be resolved, but we're no longer angry. But I am forgiving all of the offenses and pursuing reconciliation. And Kayla is doing the same 490 times a day. When you're lying in bed angry with your backs turned towards each other, I want for you to imagine Satan sleeping in the space between the two of you, because that's what's happening. A lack of forgiveness is producing resentment. The thing that I love so much about Kayla is that she loves me when I'm not so easy to love. The moments that Kayla really shines in our marriage is on my bad days, in my bad moments. I don't mean to brag, but I don't have many bad days. I have a lot of joy. I can be the life of the party. I am adventurous and talkative and creative and fun, but when the bad comes, it's bad. And I love that Kayla loves me when I don't seem like I deserve it, because that's when I need her love the most. I want for you to remember that when your partner is acting unlovable, that's usually when they need love the most, forgiveness the most. Guys, there is no relationship in the room today that is too broken for God's healing. There's no relationship beyond his redemption. I believe that a dead marriage can live again if you're insane enough to try and brave enough to fight the monster you see in the mirror. Can I tell you some graces today for your marriage? You're in the room. You're here. You're hearing this right now. And the tug you still feel in your heart, the ache for restoration, is conviction and proof that God is near and that he is not done working. I want to close today by spending some time trying to facilitate forgiveness or healing or hope. And so our worship team is going to come, and we're going to have our prayer team down front. And wherever you're at on this relational journey, whether you're single and you're longing so bad to be married and can't figure out why it hasn't happened, or man, you're still recovering from a divorce that has just wrecked you and left you in shambles, and you're wondering if it could ever be restored, or maybe you're on the brink and you feel like your marriage is just on the brink. Maybe it's been put on the back burner. Maybe it's just been so much apathy and neglect towards this beautiful gift that God has given you, and you just know that there needs to be some healing and some breakthrough. Then we're just gonna have our prayer team up here, and I just want to invite you to come, to take a step today to receive prayer and to be honest about where you are, and to extend forgiveness towards one another, and to walk out of the doors today saying, we're going to chart a new course for our marriage. And my wife, Kayla, and I will be down front willing to pray with any couple who wants it or needs it. And I just want for you to know that this altar was filled last service with couples and with a whole lot of tears who said, I need to think about marriage different. And I need a touch of the Most High God. And so if that's you, you come. Jesus, we love you and we need you. And we want for you to come and invade this space today. And more than just some good tips about marriage, we know that we need a touch of your hand. We need the power of your spirit. And we need your grace. We need your mercy. We need your forgiveness. We need your healing. So Holy Spirit, I pray that you bring conviction where it's needed. I pray that you bring hope where it seems like it's lacking. I pray that you would cause husbands to step up and lead. I pray that you would help wives to be able to graciously follow. And I pray that you would build marriages that are so life-giving and that are so long-lasting. And let the world see the scandal of your grace in the way that we love one another. I pray this in Jesus' name. And all God's people said, amen.